We go. So welcome everybody to our third session of today. We have Erika Chalkley with us from Your Right to Be is her website. I'll post that in the chat in a minute. Erika, I fell in love with you because when I first met you, your dedication to freedom was astounding, and it's one of my highest values as well. Erika, for those of you who don't know her, if you don't know her, you'll get to know her and you'll see why we love her. She teaches embodiment, somatics, meditation. She also has a varied background. She holds an MA on human rights, is a trained death doula, has a whole series of incredible credentials under her belt. But her most important one, I think, is that you used to be nice, didn't you, Erika? And you're the perfect person to talk about how not to live your purpose. So you'll give us a good girl's guide to living somebody else's life.
Yeah, thank you, Virginia. Yeah, thank you. So welcome everyone. Gosh, there's a lot of you on this call. I'm just adjusting to that, take you all in. And maybe let's start by doing something yummy in your body. So just move your body in a way that feels nice, that feels yummy. I don't know if this is your first or your third session of the day. Let's come a little bit into the body and land. And feel your bum on the chair or floor, wherever you're sitting. And take a few breaths. This is as much for my benefit as it is for yours. Yeah, welcome. So just welcoming you all here. So like Virginia said, my work focuses on women who are too nice. So that is women who prioritize other people, who put other people first, who maybe struggle to say no, set boundaries, take up space, speak up. Yeah. These beautiful women, soulful, delicious women who overgive, and maybe don't rock the boat. And a lot of them come to me at different stages of undoing, sort of being too nice. Some of them come really exhausted and burnt out. And a lot of them say something like, I feel like I've been living someone else's life. I feel like I've done all the right things and it's not added up to what I thought it would. Some of them come recovering from burnout and they're not sick anymore, but they want to bring something to life. They want to create a life for themselves. And they just are feeling a bit stuck, a bit boggy, a bit like they can't quite come up into taking hold of that and really owning it. And some women are like, at the point they know what they want to do, they know what they want to share, and it just becomes about having the courage to step out into the world and to really be seen. Yeah. So I'm going to go through a few of those today with you all. And yeah, the women I work with are from age 30 right through to 60. And although I work with women, the stuff I'm going to touch on is, we're all conditioned in different ways. We're all conditioned, and it's not, niceness doesn't just affect women. There are a lot of men out there for whatever reason who have also struggle with this as well. So hopefully, although I'm probably talking more to the women in the room, hopefully there's something of value here for the men as well. So yeah, so I'm gonna talk a little bit and then I'm gonna lead us through some embodied practices, and that's up to you whether you take part or not. So stay in your own authority. It's all an invitation to play with some stuff today and see how it feels and how it fits with you. And feel free to pop things in the chat. I won't look at it too much because I'll get really distracted, but yeah, pop things in the chat and Virginia can always shout. Yeah, great, thanks. Okay, so I teach this stuff because this was my journey as well, yeah? So I was a really good girl. I was a really good woman. I grew up in a kind of deprived community. And I always felt not good enough for various reasons in my past, personal, historic. I always felt not good enough. And so I did all the things I could to be good so that people would love me, so that I would be safe in the world. And I made everyone happy. I kept everyone happy. I was the thing that every other person needed me to be. Yeah, I shape shifted between groups. When I had a boyfriend that loved football, I loved football. When I had a friendship group that loved indie pop music, I loved indie pop music. Yeah, and I was just very good at becoming who other people needed me to be. And I was also, very I found early on that if I achieved, I got a lot of love. So I achieved really highly, A-star student, master's degree, great career. And then that all came to a head in my late 20s when, after beginning to learn to meditate, I started to realize who I was and the person that I was being were two different things. And that I'd been living from a sort of persona, my whole life, to varying degrees. And that friction became intolerable, the disconnect, and to the point of burnout. I just had this huge burnout. I had to go off work for a long time. And really, I've had to piece together my life from that point onwards over the last sort of 6-7 years into a life that really is lived from the inside out, that reflects who I actually am and is lived according to my own values and my own priorities. So yeah, and that's now what I help other women do on their journey. Because for so long, I felt like I was alone. I felt like I was uniquely flawed because I did all the right things and I wasn't happy and life didn't quite work. And I felt so alone with it. And now I teach this stuff and I work with women, I realize, my God, I'm not alone. Like, there's so many women that feel like this. And so I'm not teaching from a place of having perfected any of this, but I teach from a place of having come a long way on it. So yeah. So there's this great Steinbeck quote, and it goes, "Now you don't have to be perfect, you can be good." And in Untamed, a book by Glennon Doyle, she changes that and she says, "Now you don't have to be good, you can be free." And as Virginia said, freedom is my deepest value. And when I was thinking about today, I was thinking, what does purpose mean? What does purpose mean? Like, I don't know if I really relate to having a purpose, like born with a purpose that I have to live. But I was thinking of the word purposeful and thinking, like, what does it mean to live purposefully, to live intentionally? And I was thinking that's what's important to me. So I've written here, like, it's to live a life that I've consciously designed as best that I can from my own imagination and not from my conditioning. Yeah. A life that is creative rather than just responsive. A life that originates inside of me and comes out rather than is melded around what other people want. That's freedom to me. Something about it being my life and not society's and not set by my ancestors. Life lived like life as art, in that we're trying to create the most beautiful thing that we can with the time that we've got. Yeah, so that's purpose for me. But it takes a lot to live truly creative lives, I think, particularly for women or people who have this conditioning that I had, this conditioning to please other people. I think it takes a lot to be really truly creative with our lives, to use our own imagination for what's possible. And again, we're not alone in this. So there was a palliative care nurse in Australia. She wrote a book a few years ago about the 5 top regrets of the dying. And the top one that she saw over and over again was, God, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life that was true to me and not what other people expected of me. Yeah. So that's the number one regret. Yeah. And that also puts me in touch with like, gosh, we also have a responsibility, I think. You know, if you're on this call, if you're here, we have a responsibility, because for so many people, historically and in other parts of the world, they don't have a choice to live a life that's more creative. So I think there's a responsibility for those of us that do to really take that on. Yeah. Okay, so that's my intro. So how do we do this? How do we begin to live a life that's more purposeful, that's more intentional, that orientates from within us and then expresses itself in the world? And I've been playing with this idea that we need to know ourselves, we need to trust ourselves, and we need to share and express ourselves. So these three aspects that help us to do this with our lives. Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk us through with a few embodied exercises today. How's all that landing? Yeah, great, thanks. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, so how do we, I think it's very hard to know ourselves in this day and age. I think it's, our whole culture is set up for distraction. Our whole culture is set up to keep us separate from this. Yeah, it's much easier for society to run if we're all on train tracks, going with the flow, not really tuning into ourselves. You know, it's much easier for us to be unethical if we're not in touch with ourselves, which means it's much easier for us to cause harm, ignore injustice, ignore things that don't sit right with us. Yeah. And it's especially hard if we have grown up learning to prioritize others, learning to put others first, learning to move out of the way for other people, yeah, or to make other people happy, which is the conditioning I work a lot with. So yeah, let's just go into an embodied exercise. I invite you to join me. I invite you, if you want to reach out as though you're offering a gift to the group. So something of you, something like, you're all beautiful people, you've all got these beautiful like qualities inside of you, and you're just offering one of those. Offer one of those out to the group. So you've got it in your hands and you're just offering it out. Yeah. And then really orientate towards the group, or towards me. If you've got me very large on screen, orientate towards me, or if you've got the group, really orientate towards the group and begin to overextend, so overgive. Yeah, so you just and really pay attention to the group. How's the group? How am I? Whoever's on the screen, are they okay? What do they need? What do they want? Are they okay? Really focusing on and just noticing where you might be doing this in your life. Where might you be out? Or maybe there's a sense of love me. Like, just this sense of giving with a sense of like, am I okay? Am I good enough? And just notice, does this feel familiar in any areas of your life? And also noticing while you're here, how much of yourself can you actually feel while you're doing this? How much are you in touch with yourself? And how much is your focus just on responding outwardly? Yeah, well, feel free to stop that and shake it out. I can't do that for too long, otherwise I'll become far too concerned about whether you're all having a good time or not to give you what I've got. So give a shake that out, and just notice, and feel free to pop in the chat. Is there somewhere in your life that you're doing that? Does that feel familiar? This desire to overextend or take other people in too much. Just noticing, yeah. And no judgment here. So there's no judgment on any of this. Like, we've all just been shaped. We've all just learned strategies to stay safe. And this is one of them. I'm safe by reading the room, by making sure I am what other people want me to be. Yeah. but we can't feel ourselves when we're doing this. And we're so easily altered. We're so easily shunted and shifted and changed. You know, it's very hard to be rooted in something when we're doing this. Yeah, we're so easily shapeshift. Yeah. Just going to look at the chat. I can see some things popping up. Yeah, so lots of resonance, lots of resonance. The arms start to hurt after a while. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is so 100% doing this will keep you away from living with purpose. Yep. So yeah, number one for a good girl's guide to not living your purpose, keep doing this. Keep orientating towards what other people want from you, what society wants from you. Keep shifting and changing and trying to fit in with this overemphasis on out there. You will end up, like, the arms will start to hurt. You will end up exhausted and sick and unable to live a life that's truly meaningful to you. There's a great clip on YouTube by Gabor Mate. It's only about 3 minutes, and he talks about, it's called Why Being Nice Will Kill You. And he brings up case studies and studies on how, by orientating towards others, by not like taking care of ourselves, by not knowing ourselves, we shorten our lifespan. Yeah, it's a really strong, powerful quote. So being nice will kill you, and it will keep you from living your purpose. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So yeah. So many of us growing up are taught to defer to an external authority. Yeah, an external, whether it's parents, whether it's culture, whether it's institutions, religions that we're part of. This external authority in our lives. So we look out to find out, who should we be? What should we be doing? Are we doing it right? And it's all external. So for example, giving this talk, just to bring it really home. So giving this talk, so I get asked to give this talk on life purpose. My conditioning says, okay, now I need to read some stuff on life purpose. I need to, who else is talking on this summit? What might they say? Maybe I should listen to all the things that I said yesterday so that I know what to talk about. That's my initial response. It's like, no, Erika, no. I have to say no to that, which we'll come to next. Say no to that and come back. You've got something to say. You've got something in your own experience, your own inner authority to contribute here. Come here. So rather than what's the right answer, it's like, what's the right answer from here? Yeah, and trusting that. Yeah. So I don't know if any of you can relate to, I just need to read some more books. I just need to do a few more courses. I just need to ask a few more experts, yeah? Or I just get opinions on this, yeah? We often open up to other people's opinions too soon. I just need to ask all my friends what they think, or, there's this idea of the expert is out here, yeah? The expert is out here. And God, so many women come to me with overwhelm, yeah? I feel overwhelmed. And I just think, God, of course we do, because we're just out here absorbing all the time. And it's like a very consumer based way to live. Like, we're consumers in that. I just need to take in more. And there's a time for taking in more, don't get me wrong, but I think we are saturated, and we are so saturated, we need to return to ourselves. Like, we already know enough. We already know enough. We just need to come back to ourselves and trust that. So yeah, the creative life starts from that point, to stop being a consumer and come here to create something.
We've got a good question in Facebook, Erika. Where do you start if you're so used to living the life that others have planned for you?
That's a great question, and I'm going to come to that next. So thank you to that person on Facebook. So yeah, so essentially, the question here, I think, is a good question to ask, is like, where do you draw authority from in your life? Yeah, where do you draw authority from in your life? And really beginning, which is where I'm going to go next, to start to draw an inner authority, an inner authority. And what do we base that on? So what do we base an inner authority on? Yeah. Okay, so where do we start? Where do we start? We start by returning to ourselves, yeah? So we start by, I think we start by acknowledging, Ilan Stefani's doing a talk later, and I loved one of her talks at the Embodiment Conference, and she talked about, let's all just admit that we're walking disappointments. Yeah, we're walking disappointments. I thought, I didn't quite get it at first, and I thought, my God, it's true. Let's just admit that none of us can live up to the expectations that are put on us. Like none of us can, like what society expects of us, what we're asked to be, what's expected of us. Let's just give that up. And let's just say hallelujah if you're a walking disappointment, because it means that you're not conforming. It means you're not conforming, yeah? It means you're not following some dictated path. So I think first of all, there's something about, do you know what? I can't play this game because this game was never meant for me to win. It was never meant to make me happy. So let's exit the game. Let's not do that anymore, yeah? So first of all, that. And then there's a returning to ourselves, And this isn't easy. So I take a very yin approach because I think healthy yang comes from healthy yin, yeah? So if we need to withdraw from doing this and learn to come back here. And that can be really frightening. It can be really frightening for someone that's learned to keep safe through being externally orientated. So a lot of the preliminary or the first work I do with women is helping them to come back and inhabit themselves, yeah? So we need to cut out non-essential things. We need to learn to say no to things that do not light us up, that do not bring us joy, that do not lead to expansion. Things that we are doing that drain our energy, we need to learn to slowly let go of and say no to, including people, including anything that's, that's possible. It's not always possible, but anything that we're doing from a place of obligation, feeling like we should, that leads to resentment. We need to begin to slowly detach from that. And a lot will come up in that space around guilt, selfishness. It's okay. That's just conditioning. That's just okay. And learn to come back to ourselves. Yeah. Because we need to learn, okay, if we're going to build authority from within, we need to figure out how to know from the inside. Not know because it's confirmed out there, not know because an expert says so, but know because we have an intuition, because something in our guts is telling us something. We need to learn to trust and know our emotions and our imagination and what we really want. Now, I'm a Buddhist and I don't believe in a permanent, non-changing soul, but I love the word soul for this area of work. We need to learn to come into touch with our inner lives and our inner soulfulness. So we can do just a very quick embodied exercise here. This is very light touch, but I invite you to come away from the screen. So move your body back in space with the intention of coming out of other and back to yourself. So symbolically coming out of needing to please, respond to the screen, be aware of other people, and coming back to yourself. Feeling your bum on the floor, on the chair, feeling your feet on the floor. And gently, gently inviting your awareness to come in as close to the body as feels safe and comfortable for you today. And with this sense of returning home. And really, a lot of the work that I initially do with women is around enoughness. Yeah? being enough just as you are, just in this moment. Not enough when you've made anyone happy, not enough when you've got the next qualification, not enough when you've found your purpose. But right now, in your imperfections, there's this sense of enoughness. And an enoughness that's based on intrinsic value, that's based on not doing. So a lot of the work is, first of all, bringing women out of doing and into being, knowing our enoughness. So you'll end up here if you have a burnout. You know, eventually you end up needing to be here to learn how to rest, to learn how to be, you know, and to be in your aloneness here. So maybe putting a hand on your heart or in an area of your body that just really feels like you, and just saying hello. Hello, body, or hello, you. This inner life filled with like image and longing and potency and history and wisdom, deep wisdom. And really allowing time here. It's like getting to know an old friend that if you've been orientating in the way that I had, you will have lost contact with a long time ago. It's like an old friend that you've been ignoring and putting everyone else ahead of them. So just with this intention of like desiring to reacquaint yourself with this part of you, this inner life. Yeah. And we can spend months here sometimes, depending on what, you know, what each woman is working through something different. But this is really the realm of learning to feel again, learning to rest, learning to forgive, learning to own all your own history. And women carving out time. So that question, like, how do we start with this, is carving out time to prioritize this, to prioritize just being, not doing. Yeah, busyness keeps us numb. You know, our culture wants us to be so busy all the time so that we can't feel, so that we don't know ourselves. And really taking delight in getting to know yourself, you know, the good parts and the dark parts. Yeah. Okay. So just noticing if this feels like a relief to come here, noticing if it feels longed for or unfamiliar, noticing if there's thoughts of sort of, oh God, this is not very productive or useful. Just noticing, just noticing. Yep. So for me, this is a really potent space. This is, lots of women come to me saying, oh, I'm not very embodied, or I don't really have much of an inner life. It's not true. I remember when I burnt out, or actually when a partner left me just before my burnout, I remember thinking, God, I felt like a barren wasteland. I sort of felt like I didn't know who I was without this other person to orientate to. And actually my inner life is so rich. It's rich with image, it's rich with mythology, it's rich with wisdom. And it was just a case of getting to know my inner life and having somewhere safe to return to. Yeah. So this is really like, I often talk about the seed in the soil. Yeah. So this is the seed of our being in rich, self-nourishing soil. Yeah. And if we're going to grow, which is where we're going to go next, like if we're going to grow strong and take up, you know, become a beautiful tree with like juicy fruit to offer the world, this seed and this soil is so important. Yeah, this is the safe space to return to. This is the place that draws in nourishment. Yeah. Okay. How's everyone doing? Yeah, great. Yeah, right. Okay. So, nourishing, seed in the soil. Yeah. Mm-mm. Yeah, okay. So, what I also see so we've got the women that are probably going to burn out anytime now. Yeah, they're out here still. And then the women that maybe have had an illness or have burnt out or have learned from previous history, or have caught themselves soon enough and they've come here, and this is the realm of like self-nourishment, not doing, resting, being. Very, very important stage. And I also see that there's a point here where we get a bit stuck. And this was also my story. So I learned to do this. I have a meditation teacher. He talks about dwelling in the greater mandala of uselessness. Yeah. So just being useless, like allowing ourselves permission to be ornamental, to be aesthetic, what if we were just aesthetic for a day, not useful, but beautiful, And I don't mean to look at. Anyway, so I did all of this and I got sort of very good at not doing for a while. And then it got a bit stuck because the seed needs to crack, it needs to blossom, it needs to grow. Yeah, everything in life, in the universe, is wanting to fulfill an inner potential. Yeah, so we come here to rest, to begin to listen to our intuition, to tune into our imagination for our nourishment. And at a certain point, we need to come up because we need to grow. And it's almost like we bring in we pool our potential at this point, and then we need to bring it up and into the world. Okay, so I also see here the realm of women who are very good at self-soothing, are very good at the parasympathetic nervous system, like coming down, like really, that area. And it can turn to collapse, and it can turn to inertia, and it can turn to feeling stuck. Yeah, Marina, exactly, feeling stuck. So it's almost like, I've gathered up my energy and now I want to do something, and it's a bit boggy, and it's a bit, what do I do? Exactly there, yes, right? Okay, so we're coming into the realm of like, we know ourselves, so then we need to trust ourselves. Yeah, so we need to trust ourselves. And this is the area, this next part, I think, is really trusting ourselves. So what's the body of trusting ourselves? Okay, so the near enemy of nourishing yumminess is shrinking, is collapse. Yeah, so I invite you all to come back into that sort of backward position. So come back in the chair and down, but shrink in a bit. So put your knees together or cross your knees. Women being made to sit in this position is not a mistake. But push your knees together and sort of shrink in a bit. Shrink in. And notice how easy it is for you to act from here, to come into any sort of authority, or how easy would it be for you to speak up or share yourself from here, or even to trust yourself from here. And again, I really invite you, does this feel familiar? Does this feel like a space that you go to in certain areas of your life? And if someone was to tell you what to do from this position, would it be easy to follow that really, and not it makes me sad. Yeah. So let's not stay here too long. So I invite you to take your legs sort of hip width apart, feel your feet on the floor, and then begin to bring the body up with dignity. Yeah, have dignity in the spine. Take your legs a bit wide. And you could even take your arms a bit wide, so put them on the desk in front of you or on your knees. There's body of trust, yeah? A body of trusting ourselves. Having your own back. Having a sense of, like, your life has added up to something, yeah? Your life has added up to something, and that has value. And it has a right to take up some space in the world. Yeah. So there's a body of trust. There's a body of trusting yourself and the world, and it's expansive, yeah? Think of something you really trust right now. Yeah, and noticing, so some people in the chat saying it makes you feel vulnerable. It may well do if you're not used to inhabiting it. So it may well make you feel like exposed, yeah? Every time I roll my shoulders in, it's a habitual holding. I roll my shoulders in, it's a learned pattern. If I roll them out, the movement is millimeter small, and the whole of my body, my belly, my chest activates, yeah? Whew, that feels edgy. Okay, so I just stay there and I breathe into it. We're just familiarizing ourselves with taking up a bit more space. It may not feel safe if this has always felt safe, yeah? So we do it, this is the realm why community is so important as well, so I'll come on to that. Okay, so trusting ourselves. If we're going to become a true individual, which I think is very difficult in our world, if we're going to become a true individual, we're going to need to trust ourselves, yeah? We're going to need to trust ourselves to have our own back. So right now, bring in this more trusting position, bring a sense of your own hand behind your heart, like having your own back, yeah? Whew. Because if we're going to give up finding safety out there by making other people happy, by pleasing them, we're going to need to find safety in here. Yeah, we need a safety strategy. And if it's not the old one, we have to find a new one. And the new one is, do I have my own back? Do I have a safe space inside of myself, which I trust to come back to? Even if this presentation is rubbish and you all hate me, do I have somewhere safe in me where I've got my own back, where it's okay, you know, where it's okay. So yeah, this is the realm of discernment, you know. So out here, not much discernment, yeah. Back here, much more easy to be discerning. What is good for you? What is not good for you? Who do you choose to listen to and who do you not? You know, Brené Brown says, you should have all the names of the people whose opinions matter to you on the back of a postage stamp. You know, it's a handful of people. Who are those people in your life whose opinions matter? Yeah. Oh, let's do this exercise. So from here, just take hold your arms in a, like you're holding a beach ball. Yeah. Like you've scooped up something and you're holding it. Yeah. This is you, you've got your own life, you've got yourself, right? The people who matter are inside of this. You know, what's important to you, what you love is inside of this, yeah? So really, like, you have the capacity, you're a strong, powerful person, you've got capacity, you've got strength, you've got the ability to bring into action what you want, yeah? Owning that. Owning your capacity with dignity, you know, I've got this, I've got my own back. And then everything else can gently and lovingly be outside of that, yeah? So you can just turn your hands, everything else is outside of that, yeah? So if you've got, this is what's important to you and you've got you and the people whose opinions matter are here, everything else is not your concern or in your control. People will think what they think, you know. Okay. Yeah, and the importance of community in this part. So ironically, to become a real true individual, we need good friends. But we need the types of friends or the types of community that are supportive of you becoming more and more yourself. So people who are less invested in you continuing to please them or be a certain way. You need friends who are fiercely on your side, who might not agree with things that you're doing, but have your back. So I think here it's very important to just choose a few people who are really committed to you being the fullest version of you, and discovering what that is at this point. Yeah, so I just ran a 50, not 50 day, I just ran a month-long event for 50 women. And the sense of community was just so strong, you know, 50 women doing this work, yeah, and supporting each other to do it. And I think we need that. I think it's very hard to do this on our own. And so my current thinking is to turn that into a membership, so that and it's like a space for women to support each other, but also to practice. Yeah. So we don't have spaces in which to really practice this. So it's spaces where, you know, you don't learn karate in the street fight, you learn it in the dojo. So where do we learn to take up space? Where do we learn to say no? Where do we learn these skills in a safe environment? And so I think finding a community in which that's possible is really important and strong. Okay, let me just check I've said everything. Yeah, so if you're going to go against the, oh yeah, okay, yeah. So if we're going to go against the grain, if we're going to do things that people don't understand, we're going to need to learn to bear criticism or not be popular. We need to build this body of trust. We need to build this capacity for just trusting ourselves and returning to this safe space that we found earlier inside of ourselves. And this is also the realm of positive pride, yeah? So positive pride, not better than, but we've probably always been doing, I'm not as good as, you know, I'm not as good as, I'm less than. So this is not better than, not less than. This is just positive pride. You know, you've got something to offer the world from your own lived experience, has value, you know. And I think as well, I wanted to say this earlier, like, I don't think purpose has to be this big thing that you monetize. Yeah, I don't think you need to monetize your purpose necessarily. It's what brings you alive. What do you love? Yeah. So when you're back here, when we're back in this realm of getting to know ourselves, the question is, what brings you alive? What do you love? And bringing that up and into allowing that to have space in your life and to follow that authority, that inner authority of following what you love up into action, allowing that to have space. Okay, and then the final one, I'm sorry, I've got so much to say. So the final thing is, okay, so we come to know ourselves. We come to trust ourselves. We build this capacity. Maybe you do a karate class or a martial arts class, something that builds this sense of power in you, this sense of your own autonomy and authority. Yeah, so we know ourselves, we trust ourselves. And then we're at the cusp of just expressing ourselves and sharing ourselves, yeah? So this is another point at which I work with women. They might be at this point, they know they've got something to offer, they sort of know what it is, and it's just a case of being seen, yeah? It's just a case of letting the world see you. And that comes on the foundation of knowing ourselves and trusting ourselves. And at that point, there can be quite a natural tipping over into being seen. So for example, there's 600 people on this call. I've been avoiding looking at that the whole time. That wouldn't have been possible for me a few years ago. Yeah, that would not have been possible. There's too many eyes on me, that feels unsafe. But because I've done this work, I've got something to say. I trust myself, you know, I trust I'm here, I've got my own back. Tipping out and being seen is less scary, yeah? It's less scary to allow your views to be known, to take up a bit of space, to have this many eyes on you. That's possible if it's possible for me, it's possible for all of you as well. I can't tell you. And I think there's a few things here that are important. Like I said in one of my things with Mark yesterday, I think it's like we take ourselves too seriously. Like if I'm here and I'm taking myself really seriously and I need you all to validate me and love me, and if I think I'm too important, it becomes impossible. But at the same time, if I don't take myself seriously enough, it becomes impossible. So there's a real something there around that inner, having something inner that wants to express itself and then just giving it room. So there's a message here that wants to come through. I may be an imperfect vessel for it, and that's fair enough. Recognizing people love imperfection. My God, like Brené Brown says, it's like the first thing we want to see in someone else and the last thing we want to reveal about ourselves. But people will love the quirky, imperfect, unpolished, fallible you. Yeah, just knowing that. And then just taking risks. So imperfect, heart-led action before it feels ready. And you only learn that through doing it. So this idea I had in January for this 30-day thing with women, taking them through all these stages, that was a random idea that came up out of me on a horrible January morning. And I just thought, I'm going to run with this. There's an intuition here that I'm going to run with. And I had no idea whether it would fail or not. And in the end, 50 women signed up and it was fantastic. But I was doing it before I was ready. It wasn't finished or perfect. And it was beautiful for it, you know? So I just want to say, like, there is someone out there already doing the thing that you could do. They're much less conscientious than you. They're much less talented than you. They're much less concerned about supporting, you know, it being safe or, you know, than you are. And you could be doing that. You could be doing it, you know, because someone else will. So yeah, I just really encourage you to put it out there before it's ready. Yeah. Yep. And then, yeah, having that sense of service. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, those are my points. Know, trust, and express yourself.
You're getting a lot of love and resonance and appreciation in the comments, and some transformational experiences there in the comments, Erika.
You.
And I'm gonna give you back the mic. We're gonna wrap up at sort of 5:02, so people have a chance to move and stretch, I think, and we can start the next session on time. But people have been asking about the replays, so I'll be pasting those links in the chat for those of you that are just trickling in. The replays will be available for a short time on Facebook. You can catch them by joining our Facebook group, Embodiment Unlimited, or you could get the full course. It's like a 3-month course and it's called Purpose Black Belt. And the links are here in the comments, along with Erika's website, which is yourrighttobe.com, where you can find more about her offerings. And hopefully, Erika, you might do another jailbreak sometime, because that seemed to have gone amazingly. I was following the online postings about that. So the course, the Purpose Black Belt course, is still half price, and if you get it by the end of today, you get the bonus of the Q&A live sessions over the course of 3 months. So those are where the juice is. Steve was mentioning your phrase before about the grave of good intentions, of getting something and then just letting it there and having all the good intentions to do it, but never actually doing it. So the Q&A sessions really help with that. And if you can't get the course, I'm sure you know a friend who might find it useful. So spread the word. All these recordings will be on the course, so it's good material. And yeah, I'd like to finish with you, Erika. If you have, there were a couple of interesting questions about burnout, which I think you covered. And also somebody said, what if somebody is quicker to getting to what they need to do and how they need to do it, which I think you spoke to just at the end there. Don't know if you want to say anything more on that and leave us with your top tip about purpose.
Okay. Oh gosh, I hadn't thought of a top tip. Okay. So yeah, I would just say, like I was saying, women come to me at all these different stages, and one of them is like, oh, I'm really ready, and I just need to do the scary thing and be seen. And we didn't do the embodied exercise for that, but one that I love, it comes from my friend Liz Peters, and we did it a lot in the jailbreak, which is just like every time that you do something wrong or something goes wrong, you just go, hooray, hooray, that was a complete failure, hooray, because it's really not the end of the world, you know? So you just reorientate yourself to imperfect, heart-led action. You know, I have had a real success with the jailbreak. Last month, I put another thing out this week and no one's interested. Hooray! That's some learning, you know? Like, it really is just another step on the way to you know, really finding, okay, that didn't work, and then you come back to it. So yeah, I would just say, if you're at that point and you just need to tip over into doing it, it just becomes about doing the scary thing and having some support behind you, some women or some people behind you to just cheerlead and just celebrate your failures and successes. And it's really, on the other side of it, it's really not that important. You know, it's really not that important, and it's vitally important. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, one quote I had just overheard someone speaking in the street the other day, and she said, I was so scared of getting it wrong that I haven't even tested it in my own experience. So, and I thought, oh God, that was just a conversation. I thought, yeah. So something around, if you're at that point where you're just like, I know what it is, and I do something that you know you're going to be rubbish at. Try a new sport, take up juggling. I don't know, do something with your body which you know you're going to be rubbish at, and just get used to the feeling of being a bit rubbish and sort of trying it out. I would say bring playfulness to it. Yeah. Okay, sorry I didn't leave more time for Q&A. I'm very happy to pop into the Facebook group over the next few days. If you want to put your questions under the Facebook video, I'll try and get to some of them.
And also on the Facebook wall, we do have to wrap up to give people a time to stretch. So I'll be finishing it here. The next session is Ronhild de Brito talking about how to live from the heart, how to have an open heart in terms of purpose. And that's starting in a few minutes.
Can I say my top tip? I think my top tip is just know your enoughness. Like that's the core of my work. Just know in your bones that you're enough, whether you find your purpose, whether you don't, that your life has added up to something, and it is enough in and of itself. And just come to that seed and then let that seed crack open and grow. I guarantee it will. I guarantee it will. Yeah.
Thank you, Erika. We're starting again in 5 minutes time, approximately.
Thanks, everyone.